Hello, this is the 18th episode of the Mental Breakdown. I have a very special guest today, somebody who I have this weird connection to. We've stayed in contact for almost 2 decades now. We know each other because we fought. We fought in 2006, I believe it was, and in the mixed martial arts game, we didn't know that much about each other. It was early on. There wasn't that much information, but we both kind of looked into each other. We talk about that here. We talk about that in this episode. But he's created this wellness center. I've kind of watched it on Instagram and Facebook. I think we originally connected on MySpace or something. I feel like we had always kind of chimed in, commented on his stuff. We had a weird connection where we kind of had just like a schoolyard brawl, with you end up friends. I mean, when you go out there and you put everything on the line, it was 5 minutes. He beat me. But it was a decision. It was like 15 minutes of just like pouring your heart out in there, beating each other up. And you develop a respect for that person. So to meet up here, like I said, almost, 18 years later or 17 years later, and talk about that, talk about where we are, talk about just, the landscape of the world today. He's in Arizona. I'm here in Thailand, and we're connected in a lot of ways in our mindset, and it was an amazing talk. So here we go. Enjoy. Hello.
Hey,
All right, Jesse Moreng. Nice to see you, man.
what's up?
Excellent. This is crazy. I mean, I would love to just have this conversation no matter what. I think having this podcast kind of sparks it, but I think we'll just have a kind of regular conversation. I mean, just so much stuff. There's so much stuff to talk about. So I guess I want to go back. I mean, we were in the mixed martial arts game at a very interesting time. So for anybody watching it, that's how we know each other. We fought each other, and it was my first 5 minute fight. So that was a pretty big deal. Going into it, I researched you, so I knew you were legit. I saw your wins, you're undefeated. And so I was going into it, looking for a battle, and it definitely was. We stayed in contact. I think the first time we kind of connected online was like in MySpace or something. I feel like it was. I'm not sure.
Really?
It was interesting time. So I guess let me share a little bit about leading up to that fight is kind of what I want to know. I want to know leading up to that fight, kind of give me everything that was going on, because it was an interesting time. I know you were a wrestler. I wrestled in high school and college, and then I didn't do as well as I wanted to in just junior college level. I didn't make it to the state tournament, so I was looking for something, and I found the fights down in Tijuana. I started doing those. I studied abroad a year in Japan, which really helped me out because I was there 2005. In Tokyo, that I rolled around with like Genki Sudo and stuff before, and came back kind of on top of my game. But I was still in university at that time, just kind of like going to different gyms and getting judo here and Kyokushin over here and jiu-jitsu over here. I know I looked at your record and saw you kind of had different fights. We did both fight in Rage in the Cage, which was kind of weird roles, but you also fought like back east somewhere. So
Yeah.
tell me how you got into MMA, leading all the way up to that fight. What
Yeah. Dr. Chris David, man, it's great to be here with you. Wow. Yeah, full circle. So I got into it, there's so much coming back now because I feel part of me feels like that was yesterday. I remember that trip out to San Diego to fight you really vividly. And, I had the wrestling career, and that was, much of where I put my attention. And when, I like you, I didn't accomplish all I wanted to in that sport. I did well. I took like top 6 in the state 2 years in a row in New Jersey, but never won that title like I wanted. Went on to wrestle a bit collegiately at Boston University under Carl Adams. And I was just, I came to a point where I was like, I was unfulfilled and I was still searching. And I kind of like saw wrestling as like, I was looking ahead and like, didn't like wanted to know what was next with my life. And it was all about, a lot of it was about wrestling to that point. Much of it was like my passion and my drive was focused on that sport. And then I kind of had I don't know if what people describe as like a midlife crisis, maybe when I was 20 or 19. And that drove me to move out west to Arizona.
Okay.
And I still had roots back in New Jersey. So that's when I went to a local MMA fight in Arizona. And I'd done some jujitsu and some boxing. I had started boxing as well in Boston. And I had seen this event local in I think it was in Phoenix, and it might have been a Rage of the Cage event, but it was like a bar scene with a cage in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm watching these guys fight, and there was guys my weight class, and I'm like, I could definitely, my ego was like, I could take these guys. I could, do this. And a few of my friends around, and I kind of stopped wrestling at that point. And so it was a challenge. People were like, "No, what are you're just messing around. Like you wouldn't do that." I'm like, "No, I think I'm going to do it." So I signed up for the first fight. It was a real quick fight, out in Casa Grande. And there was not much amateur back then. It was like you just pro. That was it. And so that began. I got hooked on it. I was like, this is great. I loved it. Got back into training and so had a pretty good team of guys around me. And so I forget what number we fought. Maybe it was like 5th fight or maybe
Something I know you had a decent undefeated record. It could have been 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6. Yeah. So that was, and I was just kind of at that time, the competition wasn't, there was a lot of great guys out there, but it was a lot, it was new. So there was a lot of guys that were just very one-dimensional. Yeah. So my first fight, the guy had no wrestling, maybe he had some stand up, and I just, kind of like handled him really quickly and choked him out in 30 seconds. And then I think I had a few other fights that were fairly easy. And then I came into San Diego, and I had strong belief in myself and my abilities. And then I started hearing that people were really excited about my fight. And this guy Chris David, and how eccentric he was, or all the or they were talking about you rapping, like everybody's talking about you, and I was like, oh, like part of me was like, F that, like I'm gonna handle this guy. But then people kept talking about you, like talking you up. I'm like, all right, maybe this guy's probably pretty good, and everybody's talking about him. And even the promoter Eric, Eric was talking about you and how good you were, and then we went into the medical weigh-ins, and you were there, maybe with like a girlfriend at the time, but you were speaking Japanese or something. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, like I've never, seen somebody that looks like you speaking fluent Japanese or whatever you were speaking. I don't even know.
At that time,
and you had like a fake grill or something, and you had like burns on your shoulders, or you were all tatted up, but with brands and stuff. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a good fight. So I remember kind of like preparing myself for a battle before the event, and I had a small team with me, and then I had my college roommate there. He had moved to San Diego, and his roommate was a Navy SEAL, and and they were the only people that I knew at the event. So it was him. So you always want to do your best and perform, but you shut everybody else out. So, but yeah, I just remember that first round where you hit me with probably a left cross. I don't remember the punch it was, but it cracked me right under, I think it was my left eye. and it just started like I mean, it was just throbbing, and I didn't know how it felt like I didn't have an eyeball anymore, and then they had the big screen. So in between the first and second round, I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing's bad. And you're almost part of you like, you trust your coaches. So if it's too bad, they'll tell you, you can't fight. Otherwise I'm staying in there. And then, yeah, it was just a battle. So that was by far I think even, I didn't continue as long as you did. I had 10 fights, I think. But that was,
You went to
I want to say that was
WC.
definitely, yeah, I fought
Or-
WEC and a few, and I'd go back on the East Coast
Yeah.
and fight with some of the organizations I had connections with back there. So yeah, what a fight, man. What a great fight. And I remember the build up to it, because how unique of an individual you were. And I hadn't done too much research. I did a little bit. I did do a little bit, and I was
It was
like,
hard
okay,
to
yeah,
find a lot though. Yeah. There wasn't that
yeah,
much
yeah.
as it is now. Yeah. So did you know I would say I mean, that year in Japan is what really gave me because it was like a regular MMA school. I mean, they were doing jujitsu. I mean, it was like in 2005, that was kind of where MMA was, the pride. I remember going to like Yogi Stadium. It's like, I mean, it's huge. I mean, I couldn't even, I was what it would be so far. I was like all the way in the very back. I couldn't even see the fight. I had to look at even the big screen was small. I was so far back. The stadium is big. I mean, the Japanese just did it so big. I mean, even bigger than the UFC on a lot of levels. But so did that ever pop up? Did you know that I had that background, or you just saw? I mean, what would pop up? Because I remember looking at you. I remember, yeah, boxing, Arizona Boxing Club. I remember finding you wrestling stats. So I knew you were a good wrestler. I was like kind of psyching myself out on that. I would always do that. But yeah, what information was there? Because there's no videos, right?
There was some videos. There was like a video of you. I remember seeing something with you, like you had like no teeth or like a bunch of teeth missing, and
Yeah, just
or some,
yeah.
yeah, some bat, and some
Okay.
like, and I'm like, all right, this guy's like, he's game. He's not, he's not gonna break. Like he's game to fight, and yeah, I knew. And then I saw some fights you had, so I was like, all right, this guy's
Okay.
good. Maybe you fought Crazy Horse. Did you fight Crazy
No,
Horse
no, I
or?
didn't fight. No, I was there was a time I was gonna fight Crazy Horse and didn't fall. Yeah, he went off, did something weird. Yeah, it was all set up to, and then he disappeared, I guess, towards a couple weeks out. Yeah, he's an eccentric character though.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I like that guy. He's funny. Yeah, no, yeah, okay. No, it's a shame too. I know our fight, I wish I had it at one time. I had that DVD, but I watched it so many times. By the time I figured out how to upload it to YouTube, I remember it was all scratched. It wouldn't upload.
yeah, I had it too. I had it, and then I think one of my teammates like kept it or something. Like somebody's got it, because I was back in San Diego, or at some point not too far after, within a year after our fight, and I met up with Eric, and he gave me the DVD.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, yeah, I had it, and I had some pictures of us. I had one picture of me and you, like, got a picture together after the fight, and we
Yeah.
were both all. I had my black eye and my
Yeah.
big shiner, and you were banged up, and I remember I had that, but I haven't seen that photo in a while. And yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to get
I
a
think you
hand,
have that.
get that fight.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a shame. So in those days, man, yeah, those days were just so it was all just coming together. I think our fight was sanctioned by the California Athletic Commission. I think it's like one of the first fights ever sanctioned because they moved it to the fairgrounds. I think it was originally going to be I don't know what it was, but I mean, that was kind of the turning point because because the 3 5-minute rounds, I think that was more the California Athletic Commission. The fights I had fought before were all 3 3-minute rounds, so it was definitely new territory. I mean, on that level. So now I know for me, so how I'm amazed, and I want to talk a lot about like all these things you've been doing. I watch your videos and stuff, but before we get there, I want to know like that kind of that retiring. I mean, you went through it in wrestling. I did too, right? Like, this is the end. And then we found something that kind of, you know, whatever, adrenaline junkie a little bit, we're able to continue. But eventually that comes to an end too. And for me, I had, you know, difficulties, you know, finding my place. What was it like to get out of there or get out of fighting?
Yeah, same with me. Definitely really difficult. It kind of happened on its own. I almost was lucky enough where I didn't wasn't so much of a choice. Like, oh, now's the time to retire. It was more like back to back to back injuries. I hadn't been injured pretty much my whole career. I mean, I had very little injuries as an athlete in high school, collegiately, you know, not really much injuries. And then I was doing, you know, kind of extreme, not super extreme stuff, but off on my own too, you know. So I had a mountain bike accident where I broke my clavicle and got like 80, 90 stitches. It got really cut up on my shoulder. And then I came back and I was overtrained. I was working full time, you know, I was working full time and then really training pretty much full time. You know, I trained 2 to 3 times a day, not every day, but most days I'd get, but the training wasn't split up probably like they do now. I would have to squeeze it all in. So I would get like, you know, strength or conditioning in the morning, 3 days a week. And then after work, early afternoon, I would go get 3 days a week. I get grappling. And then right from the grappling, I do like my stand up, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, or MMA or Muay Thai or MMA. And so those days that I was so overtrained were the days that I get really agitated by the end of the practice. So I started to find that I would get like most of my injuries on those like double session days. And I broke a I broke a bone in my foot right before a fight. I was supposed to fight either Damasio Page or
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
guy that Damasio fought. I forget if Damasio stepped in for me or something, but that was a WEC fight. So I broke
Yeah.
my foot like 3 weeks out from that fight, just grappling with Hobson Mora, who was a training partner at the time. And then that put me out. And then I'm training for my next fight, which was, I think, George Roop. I was going to fight. And I jumped out of a leg lock and ripped my ACL apart.
Oh,
And so I'd already been like, I'd already recovered and had to back out of my last fight. And then this ACL tear happened. And I just re-signed, or I just had a new, was about to re-sign a 3-fight contract with the WEC again. And I had one prior, and they had said, go get another fight. I lost to Micah Miller. I couldn't take one fight. They're like, get a fight somewhere else. I fought once in Raging the King of the Cage, and I
okay.
had a quick TKO, or somewhat quick second round TKO, maybe second or third round TKO.
It's another
And
Miller, right? Somebody else Miller after.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so then I was coming back, and I had this ACL tear. It was straight, you know, ripped it apart really bad. Then ripped apart the meniscus as well. And at that point, I wasn't sure if I was coming. I was just kind of bummed, you know. I couldn't
Yeah.
walk. I couldn't walk or move. So I kind of was just like, I gotta. And I had I was starting my family, so I called it quits pretty much. I'm like, I can't even. Like, we'll see, but this is going to be a 6-month recovery, and yeah, so that was it. So it was tough, but it was definitely difficult because I didn't I had to find a way to what to do with all my energy and my drive.
And yeah, and you definitely did. I've seen you all this, uh, where you've come from. I mean, or I mean, yeah, I've seen you just build kind of this empire, optimize and breath work. And I remember seeing a video like I remember just, I mean, I remember Wim Hof kind of popping in the scene pretty just boom, like there out of nowhere, this guy. And then like right around that time, I saw you like with your arm around him on a mountain. I'm like, oh shit, like that's crazy. So like I mean, and I'm sure there's a lot of time leading up to that. I mean, as far as, I mean, I like your philosophy. I'm always, and we've both kind of seen the trolls on social media, sometimes giving pithy remarks to different things, but you're always so eloquent with it. And, you don't let it get political, because it's weird how it can get, it's just like, okay, I'm not anti this or anti that, but there's, the, our it's just kind of like logic, common sense, evolution, nature. Like there's obviously ways that we can take care of our health, avoiding things like, surgeries and medical operations and stuff. So did you have to have any surgeries from ACL, or did you
So
avoid?
yeah, I had an ACL surgery. Yep. I had my cadaver. I had a cadaver at the time.
Oh,
Put in there. Now the standard is the best is something else. Back then it was like, and I had a friend that had a nightmare situation when they took the patellar tendon, I think, and put it. I think that's what they do now, but he had a real bad. He was a wrestler, and they took, his hamstring or whatever tendon it is to use, because it's in your own body and that does better. But he had some kind of nightmare thing, then that got in my head, and I had a good surgeon, so I ended up doing the cadaver. And yeah, it was definitely a really rough time in my life. My certain personal things were happening with my ex-wife, and right when the surgery happened, and I was actually solo, so I lived on a second floor condo,
yeah,
and had two dogs to take care of at the time right after the surgery, and so I was like, you're not supposed to weight bear at all.
yeah,
I was like falling all over the place, probably messing it up a little bit and
yeah,
stretching it or whatever. So,
yeah,
but that was, but so of course I'm a big fan of certain aspects of medicine and surgeons and what they do, and
yeah,
all that stuff. And I think, yeah, definitely trying to focus on. I have that same like fight mentality that meant that fighting spirit, and I think that carries with me. And what I was able to see in my older years, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know how long this came to me, but I kind of saw the picture, the story of my life in a different perspective, and what motivated me to be so into to combative sports, and then why I was doing that, or maybe some of the reason that pushed me there, and then also what why I'm so into health and wellness. And a lot of that stems from the my personal experiences, with my family. My brother, we lost my brother 5 years ago, I think. He's 43 years old.
oh,
So he had died really young, and he was suffered some similar to Wim, very similar to Wim's story in some ways. Wim had, his wife was suffering with mental illness. I don't know if you've heard his
yeah,
story, but yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
read.
in some respects, my brother was, uh, definitely had some unresolved issues. I think he never dealt with, and was a little bit different of a individual. So myself and my younger brother, we grew up and really were like kind of never had problems like making friends. We were in sports, and that wasn't the same with my brother. He was a little bit different, and he then at a young age, when he went to university, he had a schizophrenic episode. I don't know if it was a combination, maybe it was, I don't know what sparked, we don't know what sparked it,
Yeah,
but he had these schizophrenic episodes, got put on heavy doses of different medications, for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And then kind of we saw him gain a massive amount of weight
mhm,
over the years, and then have like cognitive decline, really like almost like he's like almost like savant, like really smart, but then
yeah,
almost like a zombie, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
different thing. Really, really amazing. He's always an amazing person, really kind, hearted person. But I saw that kind of some of that growing up, and then I think really I saw how the Western medical system didn't serve to really address any of the root cause, or really there wasn't anybody
yeah,
trying to find out why he was dealing with it. It was just like, hey, take this, and you
yeah,
know, just kind of management, So he had a double pulmonary embolism, heart attacks, I guess that's what I
Okay.
think that's
Okay.
yeah. And or stroke, double pulmonary embolism. I don't know what that's like the medical term. I forget
Yeah.
what that exactly is, but um yeah, well, and he, he died 4 or 5, I think 5 years ago. So passed on, and so a lot of what I do, I'm like, I know there's so many people suffering, and not just him, but friends I've lost. I'm sure we all know somebody who's
Yeah.
suffering from stress or different health related issues, trauma, all so many different things, right? Uh, that if you go to a doctor, a Western medically trained doctor for a chronic illness, not like an ACL tear or something like
Yeah.
that, they pretty much have a limited toolbox. But there's so many other practitioners that they're not all great, but that have different tools in their toolbox that can help. And a lot of those tools that we promote, I'm not a doctor, but it's nature's medicine. It's what nature intended. And I think the overarching philosophy is like, let's get back to nature, get closer to nature, not disconnect from nature and the elements that nature. That's we are part of nature. We're not separate. So the closer that we can get to nature, I think the healthier we'll be. And I'm definitely a believer with any ailment that we are dealing with is a manifestation of either our lifestyle choices or the lifestyle choices of our ancestors
Oh yeah.
coming through, and that we have control over. We have some control over these things. So a lot
Yeah.
of control.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's a big one with our ancestors, especially like with psychology and like evolutionary psychology. And we think about the society that we live in now is so much different than our ancestors came up in, that some of these things that, mental illnesses that we can kind of look at as like actually having some practicality in the past. I mean, things like stress are important, obviously, in living in an environment where there are stressors that could and things to fear. But then we get in these we're just the way we're in the, whether it's school or work, and we get stressed, and these stressors are kind of feeding on our genetic makeup. But like you said, I mean, we definitely have control of them. And I think if we can access, like, I mean, sometimes, yeah, just logically thinking about it can help. I know you're big on like ice baths. I've been doing it more, and I do got to ask one thing. I'm sure you've mentioned it, but I know I'm watching one of your videos, and you kind of run by this statement. I know all the benefits, but then you made this line saying something about like there are precautions, or there are certain times you shouldn't do it, and it sounded really strong, and then you didn't follow up, and I'm like thinking, what is it? What? So give. I know all the benefits. What? It sounded like there's some specific things when we shouldn't do.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy you brought this up too, because a lot of times there's so much information, and then when you're in one like mind frame, you forget, and you miss things, and you almost have this unconscious belief that certain people know things or whatever. But yeah, not necessarily at this point, but I think the main thing that I would say is it's hard for a lot of us, especially somebody like you who's put yourself in extreme situations, and we want to train with cold water. I promote training to get calm amid stress. There's a lot of people that don't, nobody's there to train them or to talk with them about the way to get calm. And so they might be going into cold water and panicking, and just forcing themselves to stay in because their willpower is so strong.
Yeah.
But they're still in a panic state. And so they continually might go into the ice water and panic and not get calm. And in essence, if that's the case, you really, in a light way, is just traumatizing yourself, and you're training yourself to panic. So
Okay. Yeah.
so the main thing is like having the tools to get calm in that environment, in that very stressful environment, and slowing the breath down, being able to take control of the breath, and then slowing it down. And so if you can't do that, like if somebody's going in the cold water and I can't get them to calm down after a minute, or so, then I get them out. And we kind of review the tools and the practice on what they could use to get calm. Because I think otherwise, and I think it's probably on the more rare side, but still there's a lot of people, I mean, it's not an easy thing. So if you're somebody that hasn't, isn't used to extreme stress at some point in their life, you might not, and even if you are, this is a different type of stress, but a lot of times you can convert it. So the one thing is making sure that you have a foundation where you can get into a calmer state with your breath while you're in that environment. If you can't do that, you got to work to get toward that, or it's not going to be beneficial if you can't. And with the right tools, I'm a believer that people can, but there's some people that have a really strong reaction and it brings up trauma. And so really being able to let people have those tools before we guide them in to the cold water is important. So that's like just overarching thing where, and then the second thing is somebody who is pregnant, a woman who's pregnant, women who are pregnant, I would say just if you're not doing it already, like if you're a woman that's been going in cold water before and your body's acclimated to that, then it's probably great. It's probably good. However, it's not like you get pregnant, you haven't been trained with cold. Like I wouldn't tell somebody to start cold water training, if they haven't been doing it while they're pregnant. Somebody who is really averse to stress, it could be great, but like it's an extreme thing. So there might be other tools you want to work with first, before you go in to the ice bath.
So is it, I know I've seen a lot of your videos too. I like how even with like ADHD or something, just these, I mean, it's almost like it's not, of course it's not an end all cure all, but it can kind of regulate, maybe just regulate our body systems. But a lot of the times I saw, or I see, it's like preventative measures. Are there, if you, let's say, if like it can strengthen your immune system for when you are sick, but like if you are sick, would you want to do it? Or would that be like, I mean, does that happen?
Yeah, great question. That's another win. Not if your body's run down,
it's not.
I wouldn't go in the cold. Yeah, if your body's really stressed and run down, and you're like, most of us, I think, if not all of us, have been there where you got like the shivers, like you're like sick or run down, and you're like you're like got the shivers or you're cold. Like you don't need to put your body through extra stress if you're if you've already if you already have that. So that's definitely a situation. If somebody's really sick and run down, no, don't add another stressor on your body. That's a bad time. The other situation would be that if you which is similar to this, if you've had a traumatic like event, and I've seen this happen, a teacher who was a member of Optimize, she broke up a fight at school and it was really traumatic for her. Like she had to get in there and it was crazy. Yeah. And she was okay. She came into our center after. We didn't know about it. And she got in the cold and she had this really strong reaction. She had already dumped a lot of adrenaline earlier in the day. She'd already been through that. It was just too much, that day. So women during their menstrual cycle is a time when we tell them to like either reduce the time or just back off, or be like mindful of how be extra mindful because your body's already dealing with stress, so it's not a hard no. It's just it depends on the person, so I wouldn't, if somebody's never done it before, I wouldn't tell a woman to try her first ice bath at that time of the month.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right, that's and then the other one, I don't know. My son's like 3.5. I figured I'm gonna let him kind of try it out. He actually really likes cold baths. I mean, we're in Thailand. We don't have a water heater, but it doesn't really get that cold. But during the winter time, it's kind of cold, and he's always liked like cold showers, he's comfortable in them. So I kind of put him in there, but I was like, I'm not gonna like force him in there. Obviously, I mean, is there obviously you're not gonna want to put too young of kids, but would you say there's a general thing for age, and then also elderly, like my mother who's kind of living with me, she's like 76. I also was those would be things that how would you handle those?
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, I saw some videos of you with your son, man, and
Oh yeah.
congratulations on all the
Oh,
fam and everything.
oh, thanks. Yeah.
Looks great out there too. I love the plants and stuff, and your property there. Seen some of what you're doing. The insects too are crazy.
Yeah, they are. There's new ones every day. I see different ones. They're like they'll show up and then you won't see them again. They just like I don't know where they come from. They're just like seasonal, but
so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, with kids, I would say, I had my kid. I kind of left it up to them. It's really something like you want to, if somebody feels strong enough, like you all. And so I think too, the temperature of the water you can change, with practice. So it's somebody, I think it's great, potentially great for all ages. It's just where somebody's at, and I think the temperature, is the strength, and the duration, the dose and the duration. So the dose is the temperature in the cold water, and the duration is the length. So I've guided my parents through the cold water. My dad's in his late 70s, and but it's like if you can't vigorously exercise or get your heart rate up high, then you probably don't want to go in an ice bath. So if your heart's not strong enough to take vigorous exercise, maybe walking up a hill, or there, and then I would always start, if there's a question, always start like not as cold, that would be my thought. It's an amazing workout for the vascular system, the vasodilation, contraction, and the vasoconstriction, and vasodilation of the blood vessels, which are miles and miles long in our body. You can't work them out like you can in cold water. You don't get that same workout anywhere else doing anything else. But it's a real strong squeeze, and it opens up strong too. So as long as the body's strong enough to take that, and you're not on the verge of a condition that would cause some problems, then I say safe. So usually our metric is if you can't vigorously exercise, don't do it. And then if you're wanting to try it and you're maybe not in you're not a thriving person, and you're on those extreme ends of the age spectrum, or more extreme ages, then start like slow, start warmer, but I think it would be good. You have a pool that's in the winter that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's plenty cold, anything under 57, from a lot of the research, it triggers a lot of the effects.
Okay, that's good. So like, did you tell me how were you already getting into this? How did you cross paths with Wim Hof, or was he the one that introduced you into it, or how did that?
So I hated the cold. I left the East Coast partly because I didn't really know what I was trying to find my own path and forge my own path, and that's what led me. But I really always loved the sun and did not like the cold. I really had a hard time. I always ran cold, so that was always challenging for me. My even in the winters, I don't know if it was something that happened in like Little League football or something, but my hands were always like numb. It would be 60 degrees. I never had good circulation in my hands. And I don't know, fighting made that worse, or what. But so I always hated the cold. And then I saw somebody, I had seen Wim in the Guinness Book of World Records. Because I was into that when I was a kid, and saw some of his records. It's like, and then I saw him have this 10-week online course. And I was super into, like, as a martial artist, like you are, it's like you see the mind-body connection, and then you see not only within yourself, which is so cool, that I would study. I would always be really intrigued with people that could push the boundaries and do things like superhuman, like that phrase, like I was into that like big time. So I would always be intrigued with these, whether it's these martial artists that could do things, or the yogis, the
Oh yeah.
people sitting on beds and nails and all that kind of stuff. And then Wim came into my realm. Somebody introduced his program to me, his 10-week online program. I bought that program right when it came out in like 2016, I think, maybe
Is that just
15
a
or 16.
breathing program, or he walked you through
It was a whole thing. It was
full
it was
showers?
a 10-week course that you kind of followed every day. It was breathing and cold water.
It was
It
live
was
too, live sessions with him, or it's just a
it was
pre.
pre-recorded, yeah, pre-recorded, but it was all set up. Week 1 was this video you watch every night. Week 2, week 3, all the way
Yeah.
to 10 weeks, some stretching involved, the breath work. So I originally got into it because I hated the cold. I'm like, maybe I can like overcome my weakness with cold. And so that's how I got into it. And then after like 30 days, like 3 or 4 weeks of doing this, and it was post fighting too. So I was at a point, I was like searching for what the next thing was, how to feel better, how to feel grounded. I was always kind of like, I was running up Camelback Mountain. We have a mountain here in Phoenix that's really steep, right in the center of the city. And it's pretty strenuous, even though it's not that tall. A lot of people, and it gets hot out here, so I would run up that mountain in the summers, and just to like settle I found that like, unless I did extreme exercise, I didn't feel right after, especially after fighting, because you get that extreme exercise when you're training for MMA. So that was a problem. I never felt right. If I didn't have some kind of intense workout, I wouldn't feel good. And would be not myself, not very nice, just not grounded. And so I started to feel really grounded after doing these ice baths. Like I didn't even need to work out. I could work out, but like I felt fine just the way I was, just being there. And what I realized was that it was really a time, previously it was like I'd only feel grounded and present in those extreme situations, like in that situation in the fight where it's just you and
Oh yeah.
yourself, or you and that other person in the heat of the battle. Like there's nothing else, and time slows down, and
Yeah.
it's just like primal. It's primal, and it's just. And then after the fights, you're just at peace. You feel like, at least that was my experience, and so,
Oh yeah.
and even
Yeah. No.
in practice, so that's how the ice bath immediately made me feel in just like a few minutes. And then the breath work, it just gave me these moments of presence and really kind of forced me to meditate. It's really is a meditation, and
Yeah.
a practice of being present. And so with my kind of go mentality, like a lot of us in over here in the US at least have, probably worldwide, but especially here, I was always like, what am I going to do next? What's the next thing? Okay, I'm going to work out here, then I'm going to do this. And I was like very into that. And so the breathing of Wim Hof, I don't know if you've experimented with it, but it's very much like you're actively doing something, and then it gets you into it shifts your state of consciousness into a much more present, and connected state with your physiology. So that immediately, after a few weeks, I hadn't felt that good for as long as I could remember, unless of those brief moments when I was in the fights, or I was,
Yeah.
so I felt really connected, and all the ideas that I had in my head that I had written down of things I wanted to do in the future, I was just like, became present enough to start doing them and start being like, okay, I'm going to do, like, yeah, I need to do this. Like, I don't know what I've been waiting for, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was in there already. But then I just started taking action, and that was really why Optimize was born, my business, my
Okay.
wellness business now.
Yeah.
And I started to transform. I had a commercial landscape business that I still have as well, and really was complacent with that business. And I kind of realized how I was going to put my passion and my fighting spirit into what else I was doing, and really take that fight, maybe change the anger and the motivation, into more of a loving vibration of like doing good, but also trying to harness that that motivation from all the bad that I saw into something positive and motivating me to try to help make change.
Yeah. So, what's one more thing on Wim Hof? Just like, what's he like? He seems like a cool guy to hang out with. Like, he just seems like a down to the guy. I visualize him being exactly like I see him when I see like a video of him. I mean, I don't see him changing his persona when he's around people. But is there
No, he's the coolest guy, man. He's just himself. He's himself. He's not he talks to you. I got to spend a week with him. So after that 10-week course, I was like, what else is there? Like, this is the best. I was trying to, you have something that really helps change you. You want to share it with everybody, your family, your friends. And most people are like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not interested, So there was here and there people, but that I found. And then, and I had a group of friends that were doing it with me here in Arizona. And there was an advanced training. I signed up for that advanced training in California. I drove out to California, had the most amazing weekend. I met these people that flew. One was actually, some flew from Japan actually that weekend in 2017 to be in this week-long advanced course. People flew up from all over the country, some from other countries, and people share their stories of like why they were at this course. And there were people like, I had my story, how it helped me, and I knew how much it had transformed me and trying to just settling into my family. I was always, I still of course struggle with this, and still it's a practice of grounding myself and being present for my family and my kids and all that. So I was very much at the time, though, prior to this, I think much more like just always doing something, and didn't have the ability to really ground myself in a natural, quick way. And so it really helped me with my family, my what I want to do with my life, my purpose, finding that. And that, but there were all these other people that, man, they were struggling from like severe autoimmune conditions, like Guillain-Barré, cancer, suicide, and they were like sharing the story, how this was like they were at their last straw and they found this, and it helped them save themselves. It's not, we don't say like it's, this stuff has been around forever. Wim packaged it in a nice, nice box, and put some ancient pranayama techniques together in a very simple way that was kind of, packaged for the masses, I think, here in the States, or at least a lot of people. And so, so that advanced course, then there was an instructorship that was after that. It was a week long. And now currently you have to do both together, but at the time it wasn't like you could do the advanced and you decided if you were going to be an instructor. And I never got into it saying, oh, I'm going to be a Wim Hof instructor. I didn't ever care about that. But as I went through it, I'm like, I have to share this. Like, I definitely want to share this. And all those people that I met at that first advanced course, a lot of them, there was like 70, about 50 of them became instructors. And some of them are still really, really close friends, some of my closest friends now, but really unique people that are trying to that are purpose driven and really, on a really cool path. So that sparked it. And I got to spend a week with Wim in Colorado, and he was just the most down to earth guy. He's really caring. He's just straight, he's not like trying to be somebody else. He's vulnerable, he's real. He was about to have his baby at the time. So incredible. And it was crazy because right after the course in California, I had a really, I don't want to say life-changing experience, but it was an experience that I had never had before. And I'm driving back from California to Arizona, and all of a sudden traffic like stops. I'm right near the border, and traffic like halts to a stop, and I see like smoke. And there's, just before me, there was a huge accident, and one car veered off the highway there and flipped. And normally, like, maybe because I have my kids with me, or even I've been in the car without my kids and seen an accident, but I was like the second or third one, like I'd seen it just happen. I pulled over and I decided to get out of my car and go see what was going on, which I'd never have done before. And I go up to the vehicle and it's upside down, and there's I'm like looking around, I'm thinking like somebody's in charge, but nobody's in charge. There's like one other person there, like it just flipped. There's husband and wife and kids in the back. So I go underneath, and you know, the guy's fingers are off his hand, you know, in the back seat. The kids are okay. They managed to get themselves out of the car, and they're like in their teens, you know, there's like a son and a daughter. And so anyway, it was wild, because I just think that the experience I had of just you know, being more present, or being open to operating differently, allowed me to get out of the car there. And you know, I had this really intimate experience with this couple. Like she was able to grab me and pull herself out. You know, I didn't know, there was nobody on the scene at the time. And luckily a paramedic had come shortly after, but I was like, you know, I didn't know so much to do, but they ended up pulling themselves out of the car on me. And you know, at the time I go, I'm not going to move you. Do you want to get out? Do you think you get out? You know, and so what a really, they had to be airlifted out, but his head was like, you know, was really severed open, you know, really bad. And they were both, the husband and wife we got them out. They were back to back, but they didn't know that they were there. They didn't know where they were. You know, and then they finally came to, where's my husband? Where's my wife? I'm like, you guys are right next to each other, you know, and they were super happy. But anyway, I don't want to divert, but that was it was just wild, because I had been in, you know, just been in a different place to be able to be of service. And
no, that's amazing. No, I bet that, if you might have not gotten out of the car. I mean, it's so easy to just think that somebody else is doing something or something, and that the kids were, you helped the kids out, or they were actually able to get out completely on their own?
They were coming out right as I had come up. They were coming out, and then they, you know, I got the kids, I got their cell phone. They stayed in touch, because they were actually from not too far where I'm from here. And so just stayed in touch. But it was just crazy that you never know. I mean, I didn't know what to do, but it was just interesting that on that trip that happened. And it was definitely a very unique, I'd never been in, so it definitely brought a lot of respect for the people that respond to these type of accidents, you know, and have to see this kind of stuff all the time. And
so at that time, you're only landscaping, you hadn't started Optimize, or had you started? I mean, you just in that workshop got an instructor, that was your first step? Did you, so you got instructorship and then opened up how did you start actually? Because now it's so amazing. I mean, that's like high tech everything, but I imagine.
Then I just that was the advance. So I started, like, I was just practicing, and I was trying to do it with other people, you know, do the breathing. And I had done yoga, what I thought was yoga, for like 20 years, from 2003 or 2002 is when I started, and had done a lot of the asana practices, and hadn't really been exposed to much like breath work, even though we're always doing breath work. I mean, we're always breathing and doing breath work. And I just consider breath work anytime you're aware of your breath and you're consciously breathing. So I had done some breath work, but never this conscious connected breathing that's, you know, got a lot of different names now, and different types. So there was the instructorship. After the instructorship in December of 2017, I was like, I'm going to start doing workshops, you know, maybe in the fighting community, maybe wherever I can, wherever people will come. And one of the very first workshop that I did, because I just wasn't sure how to start. I just wanted to do it on the side. I'm like, I'll do this on the side, and maybe I'll help a lot of people. Maybe I'll make a little money from it. Maybe, you know, we'll see what happens. But of course, my drive was to help, because for anxiety and stress, it's like if you do these things, it's very quick acting. If you could get yourself, it's not necessarily easy because you got to put work into it. You got to go into cold water, and so I start the first group. I invited some friends to my house, maybe like 5 or 6 people, and I'm like, and a few of them confirmed. There was a few unconfirmed. I go, maybe I'll put it on Meetup. I've never been on Meetup before. Have you heard of Meetup before?
No, I don't know, but that
Meetup.org or .com, like
okay.
people meetup groups,
Post,
like
you post something. I
yeah,
mean,
you post something. I had never been on the site before. Somebody told me about it. Maybe they recommended it, and just get practice, like presenting, the information and guiding a group of people through. So I put it on Meetup, and then there was 2 people that signed up. And then I'm like, you know what? I have plenty of people. I don't want, this is where my family lives. I don't want any more random people coming. So I took it off Meetup, but there was already these 2 people that signed up. And so the day comes of the workshop, I have like 5 or 6 friends, and the one person on Meetup called and canceled. The other person on Meetup shows up at the workshop. And
okay, so you shut it down, but you didn't. You let them. Oh, you just
yeah. I
left
let
it,
them.
closed it, but you didn't close it on those 2. Oh, and
exactly. So I shut it down. So the one person that showed up that day, well, the only person that I remember actually a couple of others, but only one other of actually who was there. But the main person that I remember being there is now my business partner in Optimize, and
oh, really?
he's the only sign up. He was the only one that found me on Meetup, right? So
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I mean, like, I used to think all this, growing up, like between astrology and all this stuff, like I used to think it all was bullshit, or like,
Yeah.
like kind of like just things just happen by chance, and then, whatever. But, the one dude that is now my business partner, and that he really showed up at my doorstep,
Yeah.
and so I'll joke about that with myself and with him sometimes, like, he shows up, I start talking. He knows a lot about the science already. He knows, like, oh, I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? And he was about to do his instructor training with Wim, like a month later, so we start, I meet him, and we have a good workshop. I go on to lead workshops. I go back, actually, I led a workshop for a guy I fought my second or third fight, Jay Isip. It was a great fight too. It was an amazing fight. Not quite as good as me and you. It was better in the fact that I had a TKO in that fight, which of course, me and you, was a decision. But I went back to Jay's MMA gym. It was in a area of New Jersey. He's really trying to give back. He moved, he sold the gym, I think, but trying to give back to his community, just really in a area, people don't have a lot of money, really struggling, but martial arts is like, is their answer, like you see in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And so I got to lead workshops there, and all over New Jersey, in California, for family groups, for different businesses, for corporates. So I did that for a while. So did my business partner. And then this idea of a place where people could go and access this stuff in like an intentional environment was in my mind, and just it all started to come together. I have a piece of paper in probably 2017 where I was like, was just going through like goals, and I wrote down like wellness center, like question mark. And I always tell people my great aunt, who was a big inspiration, she lived till her late 80s or 90s, and she hiked the Appalachian Trail at 67, which is a 600-mile 6-month expedition, and she was a yogi, and she was always just kind of preaching like just gratitude, and a lot of the yogi philosophies of giving back and being of service and helping others. But she had a vision that she told my mom about when I was like, I don't know if I was 17, 18, that me and my brother were going to open up a health center or wellness center. And that like stuck through, because she never said anything she said I kind of always noted of, because she was a real wise woman. And I always was like, growing up, I'm like, what? Like, I'm not a doctor. Like, what was she talking about? What was she trying to say? So it's funny. I don't know if that was like embedded into my psyche. or she saw the future. But so yeah, I met my business partner, and then Optimize is is all about like you have, a lot of people are in cities or in areas where it's tough to access nature. So now we have obviously like some modern technologies like saunas, like cold water, hot water, light therapy, lymphatic drainage, magnetic therapy, meditation technology, things that are
Yeah.
just kind of mimicking nature,
Uh-huh.
and very in all in one under one in one space, that people can go through this synergistic combination of therapies in a short period of time
Yeah.
with everybody's busy lifestyle, and feel amazing and start to take control of their health and build resiliency to stress. So I forget, I went off a little bit, but that's a little bit
Yeah.
how Optimize was born.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's funny when you talk about like astrology and stuff. I mean, no homo, there's just some sort of cosmic connection I have to you, like from our fight. And I feel like you felt it too. Like there was this like, I mean, it was just stepping in there. I think we both knew we were just, I don't know, like and like you said, that presence. I remember that actually, that was, I think, my first fight. I remember that like I was actually like seeing strikes like slowly. Like I used to, I remember like when I played baseball like as a little league. I remember people always say like just keep your eye on the ball, but I never realized they meant keep your eye on the ball until it hits the bat. They never gave me that last part, so I'd keep my
Yeah.
eye on the ball, but there's like some, and the same thing with striking and fighting is be like, aim and stuff. And is, I remember that fight was, I was able to like, it was slow, like it slowed down for the first time. All my other fights are just like kind of crazy, just like, just going on crazy. And I feel like even afterwards, I feel like there's this weird connection. And like I said, I know we had talked to each other here and there on online and stuff, and we'd mention like, we'd watch each other fights and kind of comment on it, good job and stuff about stuff. And then so that's why it's so amazing to see this come, because I've kind of gone in a similar way. I think it's natural for martial arts if you don't, if it's kind of that balance of like utilizing that intensity and putting it like in a positive way. I mean, at the same, it could easily get caught up in a negative way, with like, fake stuff, drugs or something like that, which I had a little episodes with when I was kind of transitioning from out of retiring from martial arts and then getting into it. Then it's just like automatically found me all these, the breathing, the yoga, and nature. Yeah, big one's nature. That's definitely like where I'm focused at. I don't have anything like you. I look at you like, wow, yeah, how I would like to have some sort of something on my land. It's kind of in real time. It's being created. It's nothing I want to do soon because I want to raise my family first. But eventually, I'm visualizing having this like a gathering or something on my land that there will be some sort of something, and that's really all it is now. But I know it's kind of when I hear you talking, it's just amazing. Like you said, the little paper. I remember my wife and I had drawn some pictures before we moved up here in the north of Thailand, kind of in the jungle area. We were living in Phuket, where we were making more money, but it's a tourist island, and it's more hustle bustle, and we loved it up here, and we were planning for it, but it started out as just a dream, and then later on, we came across these. We drew like a picture of our house almost, or like the landscape. The house was different. It was actually like an earthen dome, which I still want. I'm still gonna do that, but like the dogs and the cats, which we didn't have, we had those, and the plants, the trees. It all looks so familiar. So I definitely, I definitely feel that energy. I feel that energy from you. Yeah, wow. No,
Same, brother. Yeah, it's like it's amazing that the connections that you can make in a fight, in fighting against somebody, like fight,
yeah,
because you're really not like, yeah, you're fighting somebody else, but really, and it's interesting now. I was just telling my fiance about this, and a friend, like watching MMA now. like I still get in and see their hearts, like, just that effort and that fighting spirit. And part of me loves it and respects it, but it is harder for me to see like the damage the guys take now, and like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of happy that I got out of it, but it's like, so I think part of what I've been thinking is like, how, like, really, yeah, what is martial arts and that combat sports about? And for me, it was about harnessing like that energy, but like, where else as fighters retire, or these individuals retire or stop that, like learn how to harness your energy for what do you want to harness it for, what? And I'm trying to call on, of course, I believe in in part of my mission, and the ways that I see that I want to be the change in the world, but like gathering those fighters, whether or not you're a fighter in the cage or other way, but using that fighting spirit for good, or for the change, because there's so much need, there's so much needed, there's so many things needed to happen, there's a lot of us, but then coming together and unifying that energy, and then directing it towards something. I think, I don't think it could, like, I can't see how that could be stopped, but we're going up against a lot, like these systems that are in place. And so I'm trying to just, yeah, make sense of how I'm gonna, choose to keep harnessing, and coming back. And so, yeah, it's amazing to be in battle with somebody, because it's like it's such an intimate environment that's not
Yeah.
unlike anything else. It's
Yeah.
unlike anything else. So like, I felt connected to you from the time I always found that interesting in my earlier years. I don't know about you, in especially in wrestling, I would use anger and like be against be like, it would be like anti the person I was fighting, or and you still see some fighters use
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
then it kind of transitioned to where, yeah, it didn't, it was just kind of a waste of energy. But I found it really interesting that I felt so close to the people that I had the biggest battles with too.
Yeah.
Like, those are the people
Yeah.
that I felt closest with,
Yeah.
and of course, seeing what you're doing and seeing like the life you're living, and you're forging your own path, so I always respected that. Even I saw that about you when we fought. So I think that was really hardest part, is like making sense of, oh, you start to like respect the other person. They're not like the enemy, they're just your opponent. And but you have to face them. And so you were so different, than anybody I had seen. So I had a lot of respect for that. I'm like, oh, and for sure, like, and trying to teach my kids to, you don't always have to swim with all the other fish, and do what everybody else is doing. And look, you actually, if you want to, in the health and wellness world, if you want to be healthy in many regards, in our society here, you got to do things, you got to go against the grain completely. Because if you eat the food that they're serving in school, if you eat the food that they're serving at the hospital, if you take the drugs that they're promoting
Yeah.
on the ads, or with it,
Yeah.
you're fucked. You're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So so anyway, yeah, man, I feel the same. It's like, it's wild that I was so excited that you reached out. And I have visions of coming to your land at some point too. And
Yeah.
I think yeah, props on the podcast. And I think you're still doing a lot of teaching, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my main thing. Now that I just teach online now, it's perfect. So I'm just on my land all the time. It gives me more time with my family and farming on the land and everything. And it's actually, it makes better money than when I was teaching. I liked the teaching. Yeah, I taught in elementary schools. I taught at a university that was in Phuket before we came up here. And I actually kind of got online teaching before it was a thing, before coronavirus and everything. I already kind of got set up. I was working for companies. Now I kind of just do it privately with the students I met. They're all Chinese students. That's kind of just where the biggest market is. There's so many Chinese students that want to learn English, and there's not that many foreigners over there. So it's hard for them to get like one-on-one. It's weird. The whole connection, all their technology is different. Money transfers, it's a big old hassle. It has to go all around these USD takes its cut through a Swift system, or trying to connect WeChat Pay or something to thing, and then all like this Zoom doesn't work there, but I've got this other, like, it's called Tencent, and it's like basically the same as Zoom, but it operates on their system. So it's an interesting world. But what was really interesting, which I kind of want to talk about, because that was kind of some of the times I remember our posts coming together, was just the whole coronavirus situation. Like, I was seeing, it was crazy because I was seeing it in China. I'm teaching these students in China, and they got locked down like quick. And I remember talking to people in America, oh, it's not, I'm like, dude, this shit's crazy what's going on. I'm seeing it happen. They're like, oh, it's not going to come to America. And I'm just thinking, like, this is big. This is like I remember what I remember the first thing, they were like canceled flights or something. I was like, wow, this is not that something's going down. And then so where, like, business wise, I know that had to be difficulty, especially because we get in this, and I know we get in like political situations where you're like, I mean, there's two aspects going on there, because you're not only do you want to stay open, this is actually what they need. This is what you need right now is sunlight, and all this. And tell me some takeaways from that whole experience.
Yeah, that was wild. I can't even, it's just wild, like, looking back on what went down. And for us, I was real at that point, I growing up in New Jersey, my parents are still there. They're not, they live separately, but they're both back in New Jersey. My brother's with his 3 kids, my nieces and nephews are back there. And so I always had this thing, like, for a while in the back of my head, I'm like, you know what, I'll go out and maybe I'll end up going back there, just to be closer, and I'll kind of, and but when this all hit, in the States, certain, which you probably, heard or know, but certain states, locked down much harder than others. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it started to, it was like a political game. Like, it just turned out that way. Like, if you had a state that was really this way, you lock down harder, because that was the belief system that they bought into, or whatever. I don't know the reason. And so, being in Arizona, it was much more free than other places. So if my business had been in New Jersey or California, or many other states, we would have been done. There's no chance. There's very little chance we would have made it, maybe, because some of the maybe the governmental incentives they gave back. So maybe we would have, I don't really know, but we definitely would have shut down for a long time.
Yeah.
So we only shut down for, I think, a month. And it was because we didn't know, like, the laws. We didn't really understand. So I got with our attorneys, and we were not a gym, we were not a spa. Something, we were another category. That didn't really have any clear restrictions on it, Nice. And so we had so we started, right away. I was like, oh man, like, okay, well, we reduce our capacity, so people come in, but now you could have multiple people in the saunas, but then we reduced it. Okay, one person a sauna unless it's your family member. So we implemented some rules, of course, and then we even had, I asked my attorney, I'm like, do we have to, like, make people wear masks? They're like, well, your staff, they said your staff has to. And I was like, well, what if they have a medical exception? Well, yeah, if they have a medical exemption, then there. So, we just had our policy, and then there was like a big box, hey, check here if you have a medical exemption. And I think any business could have done this. Like, you're allowed to have medical exemptions. If the mask isn't good for your health, then don't wear it. So all of our staff check that box off.
So you're allowed to did you have to get an official document from a doctor that says it, or do you just
No, because you're not, like, I'm not, as a business, I'm not entitled to, like, look at your medical history.
Okay.
Like, that's like, that seemingly, I don't know if it changed, but it was, it was like the businesses were like coming down hard, like, no, you have to wear it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand that, because in some states maybe more, but we just became the spot, one of the very few spots that was open, and our members were like, I can't tell you, like, I like might not be here if you guys weren't open. Like, I lost no community. I don't have any no family's not seeing me. Like, everybody's locked down in my family, and you guys are the one place I could go. And we'd have people come in with the mask on and then look around, and it was like reverse world where we
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Do I have to wear this? No, you don't have to wear it. We don't care.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
take it off. They
Right.
take it
Yeah.
off.
Oh, that's so.
And then there's some people who keep it on. It was fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
I kind of change. I mean, I have varying perspectives because, of course, like, part of it, like, there's a part that makes me sad and angry, and like seeing these kids, like,
Oh yeah.
covered, their faces covered, and like how like it just I mean, I could, I could harness so much anger from like even
Yeah.
thinking about that. And then the part of me is like, okay, people really are, the people that are even are wearing the mask, they think they're doing the right, they're trying to help other people.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that's where their intention is. I think
Yeah.
for the vast majority of everybody. So
Yeah.
I can't hate them or
Oh
be
yeah.
so, but the whole situation just
Oh, the kids
crazy.
are so sad, especially with, like, you said pranayama. I mean, these are like, I mean, the breathing technique. It's like, so it's in your situation. That's exactly like, that's it counter. It's it's like, there's to question that's restricting your breathing. I mean, it's of course it is, like, to yeah, in a situation where, yeah, if you're in the sauna, you're doing these breathing techniques and stuff. I mean, how could you do breathing techniques with a mask on? It just seems so difficult. But I mean, so would you say that I kind of, I mean, I'm kind of watching from, I'm already like a hermit kind of, I mean, we live pretty far out anyway, so it really never affected us out here. Like, very rare I'd go into the city, and same thing. I always have my mask on, just kind of, yeah, look around, people wearing masks. I'll wear a mask usually, kind of, but it's like locally in like little markets, nobody wore masks really, so it was always pretty cool. But I'm looking, I see a kind of rise in consciousness towards just natural methods of health. So did you see a spike in, I mean, did you get, are there more people now that are interested in these things? Because obviously the things that you offer to optimize are like immunity boosters. Like that's exactly what, if anything does happen in the future, we're going to want to have our bodies as strong as possible. Would you?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing an uptick. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people too see what we did, and they're replicating what we did. So we're getting like competition,
Okay.
like popping up. People that were members of ours are like, oh yeah, I want to. Everybody like loves it and wants to do it themselves, and so we were getting a lot of people. So we're opening more corporate locations. So we have 2 open now. We're opening our 3rd location, and we have some 4 and 5 like in the works in different parts of Phoenix. And then we invested in kind of in franchising the concept so that we could partner with other people that want to open up and use our brand. Not that our brand's so big, but just everything that we've learned in the business side, like we could be their partners in helping them be successful. So and we've evolved the business. So there's a lot to come. So yeah, so I think overall it's a good thing, because there are people that were on the cusp of like, maybe questioning some things in the medical system. They were even halfway open to it. I think a lot of them saw, a lot of what was going on, and maybe realized that they shouldn't just blindly trust, the medical establishment, just like other establishments, and so I think that, so we saw an uptick. Our business grew, for sure. We see a lot of people, being helped. I mean, I don't even know, like, I wish we had data. The next like thing, one of the things that I want to do is I want to be able to have people like share their medical data, because we can't house that, like we don't have the rights to collect medical information from people. I don't want to get into that business.
Yeah.
But people could share things, and my anecdotal information is that from like the thousands of people the hundreds of members and thousands of people that are somewhat regular guests or people that are doing these type of therapies, that I would venture to say that like the rates of death or severe illness from COVID would blow people's minds how low it was for people that are doing these type of therapies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that would be
Just the basis, so like I wish I had that information or some data to share. We don't. We're trying to work to see how that would be even possible. But we have nurses that are members. We have that shared with us what was going on in the hospitals and things like that. And of course, a lot of people have friends and family, and like I knew it was messed up, and then I'd hear like first person things, and I'm like, holy shit, this is actually going down. Like they moved my my fiance's dad went in. He didn't have COVID. They tested him, and he had like pneumonia, and he's not the healthiest individual, but they moved him to the COVID floor, and had him like walking around, and I mean it's just crazy. I mean I couldn't believe it, but there's just so much, so it's like, I just I want to do everything in my power to like just I guess focus on what we're doing, like, but also like if I can shine the light, like I don't want this to happen again, and I know it could. I mean, I didn't realize that the whole world was stopped. Like that never happened before in our lifetime, and everything changed, and so I think if we're not careful, then something like that will happen again, because it served a lot of people's interest. I mean, you just have to, I don't necessarily, you don't need to believe in some like demonic conspiracy, which I'm not saying it is off the wall, but just money, where the incentive money goes, that's like, that will drive action. So you just have to,
it's an unconscious mechanism. That's just the system. There's, I mean, but no, it's crazy. I mean, so that, I mean, I think, I mean, the problem with the research and stuff, the good information is like the kind of research we need is not, it's not the gold standard. I mean, sometimes like science in general, especially medical science, there's an over reliance on like metrics and models, and it's like, and like to measure health, they'll measure like different biomarkers, specific little numbers and stuff, rather than like total deaths or something, like looking at total life expectancy, over a time, like total health, right? That's all everything, all these, like you were talking about, like treatments, treating the symptoms, but then though at the same time you're causing other disruptions in the body, and they might not take effect for 5 years, and there will be no correlation between that, and the research won't identify all of these problems, and so it's just always like tipping a lot of times the medical approach is just balancing, like, but putting rocks on this side and just balancing back and forth, and then disrupting everything else, and I think I feel like there is a, more people are starting to recognize, okay, it just makes sense. It's not even, forget all the politics and science, just like it's common sense. Like you don't actually need, if you look at metrics and models too much, you could do some crazy things. And I think that some of that was what was happening when there was so much hyper focus on metrics and models, that we didn't just step out sometimes and people just look at it as like let's just look at this from a logical perspective on like, yeah, cooping people up. Like I said, for my Chinese students, man, I mean, in Chinese cities, especially my students, they're like upper middle class students for the most part that are, able to afford online classes, and they live in major cities, and nobody lives in really like houses. It's all high, 30, 40 foot, 30, 40 story high buildings, and kind of small apartments size wise. And they were just stuck in there for 6 months or something. Ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous to not get the sunlight, not get the exercise, not get, these things, breathing the chemicals, we've seen a lot of studies on that there's more pollution indoors than outdoors, even in a polluted city, just from, coming off the walls and the paints and the furniture and everything.
Down. They closed the beaches down.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's like that. I mean, how? Yeah, it's so far. It's so like, it's still like, it's like that. There's all these memes, I'll share sometimes of the memes, and but like, it's like, there's like the one where, there's the guy trying to figure stuff out. There's all those like crazy symbols, like, it's like, I mean, you have to, there's that saying, what is it? You have to,
the forest and
you have to not think about it for it to make sense.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to not think about it, and then it might make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes too much analytical, logical things are just will over. You'll come to crazy conclusions when it's all, if you think in formulas and data too much, it can
And I just have the belief that, like, that especially like something that a large amount of the population is going to get, or is out there and it's spreading around, unless I know that it's like, if it's a really good chance that it's going to take me out, like, I understand that. I understand there were people in that population that I could like I have an understanding from like a mental perspective. Oh, I'd be, like, if I were them, I would be really worried about this, especially because the way they're talking, when it became clear that that wasn't the case, and of course, if you watched a lot of the mainstream news, you might not know that, but I just think that, your body upgrades based on like when you get sick, you get stronger, you learn how to overcome and fight sickness and fight illness. It's like the whole boy in the bubble thing. Like, if you lock a kid up in a little bubble, and he never is exposed to anything, when he's exposed to shit, there's going to be problems. Like, that's part of growing up. That's why, a baby gets antibodies from a mother's breast milk, and he's exposed to things, and they get sick. And that if you can let the body can deal with something and not succumb to it, it's going to get you stronger. It's that what doesn't injure you or kill you makes you stronger. It's like the ice bath. You get stronger. Now, there's too much. There's dosage that's too much. So when that came out, I kind of embraced that I was going to get this sickness, and I was okay, and I was going to do everything I could in my power to, to keep myself strong so I could deal with it.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. I think everybody got it in the world, like, and unfortunately, there were people that died, but I don't think there was any measures you could really do to prevent somebody from getting it, unless isolate them for the rest of their life. I mean, it was like, it looked like it's gonna make its course. There's really nothing. So this, did you see this? Like, it's like the same. I mean, it's like blowing my mind, but it's because we went through all this. I'm like, is this actually? It's the same system. So like, I saw that they wanted, obviously climate change is this big issue, and like environment is a big issue to me. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely think, but again, now it's like the same, treating the body by like biomarkers is like focusing just on temperature. Let's focus on most of the things that will bring the temperature down would also be good for the environment, but like, poisoning our soil and water and air is like, and then I don't know if it's like, it's real, like an article talking about talking about like blocking the sun or something. Like that's such like a medical approach. Like you're the symptom. Like if we are a human activity are, speeding up some processes. I do think human activity is definitely causing some problems, but it's like that wouldn't even help the underlying issue. Again, it's like, and then I mean my mind's going off all this, and then I see the the war going on, and like this just like continual escalation, and it's like not worried about nuclear war, and then all of a sudden I see these articles about like we need to block the sun, and I'm just like, is this? Am I living in the clown world? Is that serious? Are we like being kind of prepped to like beckon in, like we want a nuclear war, or that they're gonna? I don't know. It's weird, but like that whole, I don't know. So yeah, there's two things there. But did you see that article or talking about it?
I've seen stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I can't. It's just insane. It's like nothing would surprise me anymore. But I did see something like that. Yeah, I mean, nothing would surprise me. I think things are even further along than we know. So it's like now's the time. Like I feel like it's our duty. There's definitely things that I don't. Like it's uncomfortable to say because my kids, I got a medical exemption for them for school to not wear a mask. I almost got kicked off the plane. I ended up succumbing, but when the like it was like very troubling for me that this was happening, that I was like literally they're forcing people to cover their mouths and noses. Like what the fuck? Like I get it, like coughing on people, like I'm very conscious of that. I breathe through my nose and I don't know. So yeah, now I mean nothing. So it's not a night. It doesn't feel good too because I mean it feels good to be in the place I am. I feel good about myself. I feel aligned with myself. I'm definitely got things I'm working on and to improve, and also the mistrust that I have in the system that is constantly trying to that I'm having to interact with, like it's it's really, you got to navigate it. If you're in this world, you got to navigate it, or the next thing you know, it's the answer is just like you said, it's everything segmented, and there's a specialist in every little area, and if there's something wrong with your ear, it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just, it just has to do with the ear, and the ear specialist knows nothing about any other part of the body.
And if they have to move
The
something
ear.
out of the way,
Yeah,
you don't need this one. We'll
yeah,
cut this out and throw it away.
yeah. You're just this machine, and everything's separate, and it's like, I mean, it's a clown world in a lot of ways. But I do see like, more people waking up. So I'm trying to like hold on to that, and I feel like that this new, there is a new way when things get so out of whack.
Yeah.
There's balance.
Yeah.
There's got to be. So I'm hoping that more people see. I mean, I even think like, and sometimes it's like, that balance. Like, how much do you look into it and watch these documentaries and inform yourself? Because really like, what are you going to do about it? Like, what can you do? So I don't want to get too in my life. Like, I like, being open and being aware maybe of some things, or being open of different perspectives. And I want to see what I can do, but you definitely got to be aware. I mean, I even think with the whole COVID thing, the way things were set up, literally the treatment plan that was the protocol that was pushed out was killing a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Literally that. I mean, what they were doing by putting people on ventilators was literally killing them.
Yeah.
And so fuck, like I try to, it's a sad state when you literally, I fear my family members going to the hospital. And I also know that, there's surgeons and doctors that save lives of people all the time. People are in accidents. So it's like, people hear that and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for all that, the work that there's so many people that do good work. And they're also not designed to optimize health and for a thriving society. They fix the parts of broken people, and that's what that system focuses on.
Yeah, and there were so many, I mean, there were so many doctors that were actually, I mean, they're they're caught between this. Some of them did know the right thing. They knew, I mean, steroids or something, using certain methods, just old methods that we've used a long time, generic uh medicines and stuff that, were very cheap, easy way to just that's how you would treat this condition without, but then once there are these like protocols set in place, now their job's on the line, they can lose their job, and they're kind of between this, okay, should I do no harm what I know, or I'm gonna have this, lose my licensure or something. So it's but like you said, I mean, I hope it has, I mean, in some ways it's polarized, uh and it's a shame for it to be like that, because I mean, it should be, we're starting to be able to ask these questions and talk about it, and they're, I'm hoping, I'm positive that this is we're going to come out stronger from it. I mean, I think we're coming out of it. There are people asking questions, legitimate people. I mean, before it was all like, I'd always hear that, well, all the scientists say this, but it's like everyone else was. Now, to me, all the scientists weren't saying that. There's very few saying that, and now they're popping up, at least because now they don't have as, I mean, now they do have a voice. They are able to talk about what was going down, and how even research papers, because I was doing a lot of research or reading the research. I was kind of, at that time, I was doing it more in like, I mean, it was more mental health and stuff, but I see there was weird stuff going on with academic journals, really weird things about research papers getting retracted and stuff. So it was an interesting time, but I think it's, and like we said, whether it's conscious actors or just the way the system is set up, obviously money's an influence, that the data people were looking at misconstrued them to make these decisions. But anyway, yeah, I mean,
It's wild. We could have a whole other podcast on that. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
yeah, no,
it's so wild, and seeing things. Yeah, I'm so curious. I could talk to you for hours about it. Just seeing like what happened where you were versus like here, and then we were here in Arizona, and then I flew back east the summer of 2018, and it was like it was a different ballgame. Like, I mean, it was, you go to different cities and it's way different. Um, and it makes sense in a way of just what's being promoted. And then like if you're, yeah, if you're caring and a caring person, well, you're going to protect others and you're going to wear your mask,
yeah,
so it's just it's interesting, but it's definitely, my mission to help people not, not subcontract out or not contract out their health, is
yeah, yeah,
sure, get resources, get opinions of professionals, see people that do it, but like get multiple opinions, and make sure you have somebody on your side that like is has tools that are natural, that that all these tools can help with whatever else you're dealing with, whatever medication you got to take. There's natural ways that could help with that, and it can help you become stronger and more resilient. So if you're just there's times to take that. You're in, we've both been in severe pain. I'm sure you've been. I tore my ACL. I think, for that surgery, I was put out or put on pain. There's times for pain meds, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't want to use that as like the main solution. You better fix the problem, or so yeah, there's just a lot, and that's what I'm now that I'm in this world, it's so interesting to see like the areas of my life that don't align up with it. The dentist. I was going to they were great dentists. I love these guys. It was a dad son, but man, they got the crest Colgate. They got the Colgate on the side. They got
Yeah.
there, and knowing what I know, you know, yeah, I'm just trying to really reduce all the things that like don't align, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, just and try to stay connected with good people and try to uh raise my kids right. I have a baby on the way, by the way. I'm
Oh,
having
do
a
you
third
really? Is that your
child.
third?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, third.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
nice,
Me and
nice.
my fiance's first child. She so Christmas, New Year's ish.
Oh, nice.
So
All
yeah,
right, wow,
do
congratulations. Yeah,
it again.
I'm working on
Thanks.
another one. Okay, I definitely want at least one more. Yeah. Just,
Let's time it up. Let's do
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, for
We should
sure.
have a gather. I'm envisioning a big gathering on your land.
Yeah.
We could build a sweat lodge.
Oh,
Have a
that'd be
little
cool. Yeah, no,
sweat ceremony.
that's maybe that picture that I drew, that earthen dome or something. That's maybe what I was doing. And I definitely want to do that. Right now, it's yeah, I'm building these walls along my border. I'm just using like because we bought an orchard, so it's an orchard, but it's naturally kind of a jungle area. We're close to the river, and so I was planting a lot of other trees. Once they got tall enough, I started cutting down a lot of the trees that were just kind of lined up as orchard. But then I've got all these branches, and I cut them kind of small pieces, and I'm kind of using it to make a fence. And then I'm gonna make like clay. I'm gonna get clay and hay and sand and just kind of like start mashing on there, so we'll have like a natural border that kind of comes up. And yeah, I want to. There's so many things I want to do, and it's a life project. Like I said, I mean, yeah, it's really. I'm not. I've got this age, 60 years old. So I'll be 42 this in a couple of weeks. So it's like at 60, I'm going to completely just dedicate that. I want to go like blackout from social media and everything. And hopefully by then I have all the connections. There'll be some way to connect. Who knows how the social media realm will change during those times and how we'll connect. We might have like telepathic machines or something, but I definitely want to have like the best time to come out here is in that like December, January. It's cool and crisp because we're a little bit more in the mountains, but it's really hot like March and April. Then we get this right now we're in this rainy season. Then after the rainy season stops around in October and goes through to October, around November it stops, and then it's cool. There's no mosquitoes, even though mosquitoes don't bite me. I'm lucky, but like a lot of people are bothered by mosquitoes. We do live by like marsh lands and stuff. But during that cool season, there's no mosquitoes. The air is crisp. So I'm thinking about like I'm just gonna have like a 2-month gathering from like December 1st to January 31st. But I want to be like offline. So you just gotta like show up basically and just see what's going on. And there won't be like, I want to make it something like that. I want to create. And by then, right now, it's still not at that point yet, but by then it will be like a jungle. And I live in the village. Who knows what other places will pop up. Right now, it's just orchards on left and right of me, but we're close to a village. There may be people that, I have no control. People build some sort of structures, but by then we'll be like kind of, boxed in with these natural walls that I'm building. And I want to make it just like this enchanted little human sanctuary that you can come. So
love it. Yeah, I'd love to come. I plant a lot too. I'm big into gardening and definitely like one of my passions. I got a I don't know, quarter acre maybe at most. So it's real, regular small property. I'm close to the mountain preserve. So even though I'm in like a residential area, just like a block right here, like right behind me, you probably can't see because of the light, but there's mountains right there. So I could walk just a block, and there's tens of hundreds of, I don't know, 100 square miles, but a lot of mountain preserve right back here. So I have a lot of wilderness, desert wilderness. But then in my little property, I got like 22 fruit trees that I planted last year. So I plant all different types of stuff. Some more native, others like where I met the soil, figs. I have bamboo in the front that I'm growing. I have apricot, mulberries, peach, apple.
Oh, nice. Oh, those are good ones. Yeah, some of those don't grow out here as well. It's hard to grow. Mulberries grow, but like peaches, apples. Those are like less. I mean, we got the tropical. I mean, mangoes. Mangoes are almost. There's too many mango trees because they'll grow.
Mangoes are hard to grow here.
Yeah, that's my bad. So we get some things that are easy here, but like apples and like plums, they're hard to grow here. So, what about foraging up in those mountains? Anything you find any natural herbs like? Because I know you've mentioned things that are native. Like what kind of?
Yeah, I'll show you. So these are native right here.
Oh wow! Native potatoes, are those potatoes of some sort or what?
Prickly pear.
Oh, prickly pear. Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, prickly pear. They're fruit.
Cactus. They grow off a cactus. I've heard that. I don't actually know that.
Yeah. Prickly pear is a cactus. And so it's like It's got a bunch of seeds in it. It's kind of like I don't know if you'd call it like similar to a dragon fruit, but
Oh,
I
okay.
have
Oh,
they
that makes
have
sense. Yeah, okay, it probably is. Dragon fruit, yeah, it grows on
yeah,
cactus like
there's
a cactus
Peruvian
plant.
apple cactus. I have a big Peruvian apple cactus. You could see it. It's actually right. You could see part of it right back there, but there's
Okay, I
it's a
think I
huge,
do see that. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it's back in the corner up at the top, like over the pool, like right back there.
Oh,
But
okay. Oh, and that's it. Okay.
uh, I don't know. It's going to be
Yeah.
hard to see that, but
Yeah.
it's a huge mother cactus, and I propagate those, so those grow better tasting fruit than this. But
Yeah.
there's
But
prickly fruit. So my neighbor had like these right now are all over the place. I mean, you could
let me
get
get a close up of that. Show that. What? Let me see what those are. Okay, interesting. And you cut them open. It's kind of like a dragon fruit
yeah,
inside, like kiwi,
yeah,
kind of like a
yeah,
kiwi looking almost.
yeah, yeah. So those we got. What else? I'm trying to think of what a lot of fruit and cactus, and date palms, the
Oh,
dates.
okay. Yeah.
A lot of those are out here. Moringa trees grow really well.
Oh,
Moringa.
those are amazing. Yeah. Okay. I did. Oh, you do. Yeah, I have some on here. Yeah, those are amazing. I mean, those are like, yeah, the beans. You can even. You got to be careful with the roots, but the roots are like an eight. I'm growing them, and when I'm old, there's some like it can give you like one more kick or something. It's like a kind of like an elixir, but also you wouldn't want to take it regularly, but you can like eat the roots or boil the roots, do some things with them. But I've always heard, well, be real careful with that because they're extremely potent. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, as we wrap this up, I want to kind of ask you what I mean. What I mean, everything you're always incorporating everything. I know you have a lot of things. What make like breath? Okay, actually, can you what is BreathWorks? Optimize is the name of your facility, and BreathWorks is a separate program that I've only seen that. I mean, more recently, that's yeah. What is the difference?
Yeah, that's like my personal. I started Breathworks when I was doing the workshops and things. So a lot of my workshops, I'll go like either private groups, like corporate groups, masterminds, different groups of men or women, or groups will hire me to come in and teach seminars or workshops on breath work. Sometimes I utilize, cold water as well if they want that in the training. But Breathworks is my personal brand, pretty much. That's all. It's not it's just what I run my workshops through. I will probably eventually have some trainings out there that I either offer free or sell online, or little courses, maybe a mini book or something. But yeah, that's just a personal brand. And then Optimize Mind, Body, Breath is our wellness centers that we offer membership and drop-ins and things like that. We have locations and we're spreading those locations. We started to have breath classes and breath meditation, sound healing, combination of those types of classes at some of our locations. The next one will have a bigger space for that. One of our locations, we don't really have the room to do the classes now. So, and that Optimize is it's spelled with a Y, so people could check it out. OPTIMYZE.me is our website.
I'll put a
And
link too. Yeah.
we're definitely, our mission is tied to, not really the physical. Like we help athletes and people, run faster or compete better. Really, we love like helping people upgrade their minds and build resiliency in the mind and the body, feel better, deal with mental illness, deal with anxiety. So we really cater to mothers, women, people that are really, just need to deal with stress better, want to perform better. The athletes help better because, I mean, as you know, I think the people that perform best in any situation are the ones that could like let go of the stress they feel. When you talk about those athletes, like, oh, he's good under stress. You were good under stress because you just let it go. Like you were focused in the moment about what you were doing. So that's really our mission. It's less about recovering from your workout and, you know, getting stronger. And those are all like side effects of the therapies, losing weight. A lot of people care about that stuff, so we let people know about it, but really, like, it's like build strength from the inside out, and everything else, you'll look better, you'll feel better. It's going to help everything.
If you need weight to lose, it'll come off, but that's not the target. That's just a natural, you'll lose weight.
Yeah, we're not focused on
if you have extra weight, you'll lose it.
Yeah. The aesthetics come, and we're really a welcoming environment. It's really like an intentional meditative space. So a lot of people come in and just, you know, feel a different vibe. We don't play normal music in there. We play not music you hear on the radio. We have a lot of indigenous music, a lot of drums, a lot of different instruments playing. You know, we'll even have some live instruments and people using like sound healing devices in our centers occasionally. And we take pride in guiding people that don't have the tools, they've never done this before, in their first experience with cold water as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Wow. That's cool. So that's like, no, I mean, thanks for having, I hope to, if they end up blocking out the sun, we got to do another podcast on mushroom growing. You got to know how to, because mushrooms, you can grow mushrooms pretty, they have a lot of, you can get a lot of nutrients from there, and you don't need the sun. So I say everybody's that's like I've tried growing some mushrooms too, but now that this whole blocking out the sun and like escalation towards nuclear wars just make me think like let's prepare. But if there is, we'll definitely have like during the next whatever goes down, just sometimes just to stay sane, sometimes just to talk to people. That's what I felt so weird. I mean, you were, there's people right from the beginning, that, sometimes I was worried about what I'd say, like, whoa, like, it's good to have these connections where you can just like talk about things just realistically without, so I appreciate that. I appreciate through the chiming in on different things. I'm sure we'll be in contact here and there, like we always have been, but definitely within the next 18 years, we'll have to establish some way so you can come out here, because that's my goal. My goal, in fact, it's not a goal. It's absolute. I'm going to just cut myself off. And I hope to have something established that we can continue to have the connection that we've had and kind of grow. I'm inspired by you. Oh, that's one question I wanted to ask you. Yes. I mean, I don't have a business mind. Did you have, is it your business partner? Did you have a degree in business? What was your degree in? How did
I have a minor. I was business and political science. I used to want to get into politics, but yeah, business. So I studied business and some, finance, accounting, but I was really general business, but really I didn't learn anything. I mean, I learned it all just doing it, and I'm still learning. So, learned it all doing that, and just on our own. But yeah, I would love to have you out, man, or hold mitts for each other and train a little bit. And I'd love to connect again. We got to wrap sooner than later, because there's a lot more I want to talk to you about and pick your brain about as well.
For sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. No, if there's anything, we could do that, something like that next time. So good. Excellent. Have a wonderful day. It's actually 2 a.m. here, so I'll be going to bed.
Get some good sleep. Get some sleep. Get some sun tomorrow. Everybody's scared of the sun too, so it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to block it.
Yeah, no, it's such a like medical approach to just like, it's too hot, let's block the sun. Like, well, let's think about this, guys. Let's just step back and take a deep breath. Like, that's a little extreme measure to like. All right. Excellent. Have a wonderful, man. Great day.
Chris, much love, man. Have a great sleep. And it was pleasure connecting.
All right. Excellent. Yes. Bye-bye. See you.
Hey, brother.